Welcome to the second section of Chapter 6 lab. So in the first section, we discussed about all the attributes that is available with read CSV method that will help us to manipulate and load the CSV files. Okay, so we have seen the separator attribute, header attribute, names attribute, prefix attribute, skip rows attribute, index call attribute, NA underscore values attribute, and then end rows attribute to select a particular number of columns, and then use calls attribute to specify number of columns, means to select particular number of columns. So those are the attributes that we have seen in the first section. In the second section of the video tutorial of chapter 6, we are going to see how to work with Excel file. So in the zip file that I have uploaded, you can find the Excel file called sample.xlx. Make sure that you have that file in your folder. And now we're going to read that file by using the method name called read Excel. Okay. Data 8 dot read underscore Excel. Chapter 6. I have kept it in this folder, so just make sure that you're in the right folder. So the file name, method name is read underscore Excel. Okay. So now I'm going to see what are the things, what is the data that is there. Okay. So you can see this is the Excel file I have. Maybe I'll open this file and show you. So this file is kind of this is this Excel file. Okay, so when I read it, you can see the sample Excel file. Next, we're going to see how to read a HTML file using pandas. For that, first let's create a folder, file holder, to say the location of the URL of the file. Okay, so in the upload, in the file upload, you can see totals.html. So actually, we're going to find a HTML file in online HTML file. Okay, so not from the saved file location. We are going to get the number of tables in online from the HTML file directly. Okay, so I'm just going to find out this table in this location. So how I'm going to read that file. For that, first I have to give the location in the URL. Okay, so I have just copied the URL and give it into the URL variable. Now, variable location, read underscore HTML, and pass the URL. Okay, so read underscore HTML. So things are very easy actually. Read CSV, read table, read Excel, and read HTML. Okay, and here we're going to select the location directly. Data 0 index dot index based location, where we are saying all the rows, column is here. All those that have number of rows, we are just going to select only 20 rows. Okay, 20 rows in all columns. Right. Fine. So here we are just finding out the location by using the index-based location or 0 to 20. In this table, we are just going to select only 5 rows from here. Okay, to select the number of rows, we can use the head method where we are passing this attribute value 5. So you can see it will just select the first 5 rows from the table, F-ron, F-low. So you can see until F-ron, F-low, it will be able to select the CSV, the data, all the rows from the first, all columns in the first 5 rows. Okay, so this is how you can read a table from the HTML location directly. So next we're going to do one more of this from the HTTPS location, another location. This time we are going to use a GitHub table from the GitHub. Okay, so the location is we're going to read it as a CSV file. The previous example we have read it as a HTML file. This time we're going to read a CSV file. Okay, so cd.read CSV. It says that you use when it is a HTML file, you have to use read HTML. When it is a CSV file, you can simply specify read CSV method and passing that URL attribute. Okay. Full data set. So it's there in the GitHub. So I just selected location, the simple dataset.csv from this GitHub location, reading it as a CSV file. Okay, so next one, we're going to work on some popular data sets. Okay, so train.csv, you can see that I have uploaded it into the file. So you can see I have uploaded a Excel file called train.csv. So we're going to work on this. Normally, even for the paid projects, you will work on this kind of big data with a huge number of rows. So we'll do something train.csv, which will be like real world. So whatever you have done so far is like you're just getting introduced how to use function, different methods. But the real data processing will be like we have to handle number of rows. Okay, so this is Titanic train. Whatever I have uploaded is called Titanic dataset, which is a popular dataset to learn data manipulation. Okay, so pd.read CSV file, that's a CSV file. So train.csv. So normally you can simply, if it is in the same file, the file is in the same folder, you don't need to give the full location. I just gave the full location to train you, but if it is in the same folder, you can simply specify the file location. So the train.csv file, since it is in the same location, I'll just say train.csv file. Titanic. And let's see, first 5 rows, you can see first 5 rows. And also I can specify the practice the tail method and see last 10. I think it's last 10. And you can extract particular column from the information. Okay, for that we have used use calls attribute, but still you can directly apply it in the object by specifying the column names. Either you can use calls attribute, or also you can use this just passing the variable. Okay, here name, survived, and p class. Let's select all these variables. Give the column names. Okay, and then head. It selects name, P class, and survived column from the data. And there is a method called describe method. Actually, the describe method will help us to give the get the statistical information about the data set. Example, if you want to apply the describe on this Titanic data set, which we have saved in Titanic_train object, we apply this describe method here. You can see just give the count, mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, 50%, 70%, all those statistical value for all the columns can be retrieved by using the describe method. Also, we can use D types that will give the data type. Okay, for example, passenger ID, integer. What are the integer and what are the floating point? What will be taken as a string, object, all those data type related information can be retrieved by D types method. And similarly, we can use info. So this info method will give you all the like column name, whether not a null, and what is the data type. So all those things will be given as per the column. Okay, so the info method will be useful in that case. Similarly, there is a method called unique, unique. Okay, so that will just give get how many unique values are there. If you look at the table, it will be very big, right? But the survival, it will be, if you take the survival, yes or no, 0 or 1, only 0 or 1 value will be there for the survival. So what are the unique value in the given column? What are the unique values? Okay, so for example, the P class, there will be 4 class, survival, survived or not, 2, and then unique values, and the sex will be male, female, and the age. What are the unique age values? All those stuff. Okay, what are the unique values? For that, you can use unique method. Survive to age, 88 different age values. Okay, so the unique will give you the unique values in the data set. Okay, so that's all. Normally, we will use these head, tail, and describe method, D type method, info method, unique method to know about, to get the statistical information about the data set. Next, we're going to see how to read file through input output stream by using the system package, system library, how you can apply it, how you can read it through the system library. For that, you have to use import system package. And let's read a CSV file. 7. For that, you have to use to CSV, to_CSV method. So this time we'll use this ex.csv file. You can take any file. I'm just going to take ex.csv file. Okay, separator, by default separator, comma. Run it. Okay, so let's check this Titanic file itself. Let's read it from that. Using input output stream. Okay, so dot, if you use tab, you can see to CSV file and system dot std out, standard output, and repetition null. So this is how you can separate a So ignore the previous file. So let's take another example. We are just going to see how the input-output stream will work. How we can use pandas to read it through input-output stream. First, for that you have to import system and then use the data set which we have already saved in the variable Titanic underscore crime and to CSV method, and you have to pass the parameter standard out system.std out, and then if you process this with the null value, then you can see we have read it using system input output stream using pandas. Okay, next we are going to see how to work with dates. Okay, how to work with date. The date underscore range function in pandas helps us to work with dates, years, and month. Okay, let's see. For that, we need NumPy. Let's import NumPy as NP. And let's create a dates variable. Pandas that have the range function. So you can see date function. And we can pass any value. For example, I'm going to pass 9/21/2022. We have the attribute called periods attribute, where we can specify how many rows, how many values that we want, how many rows that we want to display for the given interval. TS, we have to specify it as a particular, we are just going to do it as a series. Okay. So you know the series data frame, one-dimensional data frame. That range function. So, dates as an index. You can see 0 to 6 and the date from 21 to 27. Okay, whatever the order that I have given, it will be able to sense. It will be able to sense the month here, even though it changes the order here. You can see from 21, 22, 23, the dates has been given here. Okay. For example, if you want to give 9 days or 10 days, you can see periods 10, and if for the index, you have to give 10. Then it will give 10 values. Okay. We have time.csv file. You can see time.csv file. Let's see how we can work on that. Okay, so let's take this TS object dot to underscore CSV. Time.csv. This I select the file location. Okay, if you open the time.csv file, it looks like this. Okay, so I'm just reading that time by using the read CSV method. I'm just reading, and you can see it's just a normal read CSV file. We are just going to see how we can manipulate the data by using the different attributes of date range function. For example, if you want to work with months, let's say 9/21/2022. periods attribute with 12 and frequency, we name it as months. Now creating a file holder for index 12, right? So you have to give range function 12 and the index is going to be months. There was a typo error. So you can see date range function with the current date, the period M, and then you can see from the January will start with the first period will start with 0 and then it will go until 11. Okay, so based on the month, it will be you can see the frequency month. Okay, so based on the month, it will get as indexed. Okay, now we'll see one more thing that we can do with the date attribute. I think that should be enough with the time function. So far, we're seeing how to read actual real life data. What are the useful methods that we can utilize to analyze the data and some of the date related functions that we can use from pandas. Now we're going to see how to create a new CSV file ourselves using pandas. Okay, so maybe we'll create it using the series method. Pandas series, say numpy range function. Okay, 1 to 6. Give the index attribute. TS1 and let's consider B means 2. So just let's create a, let's see what is done in the TS1. Okay, so there are series and let's save it as a file, CSV file, TS1. And you need to save it as a file, use the method called toCSV. That will save it as a new file and series.csv. The file name. We have just saved it as series.csv. Now let's read the file by using pandas. Just go CSV file. What is the file name? Series.csv. Okay, yes, one. Have created. If you check your folder location, you can see it has created a new file called series.csv. So the toCSV file will help us to will create a new file. We'll create a new CSV file. You don't need to give the location all the time. You can, since all the files are in the same location, you can simply specify the file name. Now, next we are going to see how to work with Json file. Okay, so first let's create an object with multiple string. Let's create an object. You feel free to copy the content from the PDF for this particular size. Okay, so I have some set of string values. I have saved it in a variable called object. You can see all of them are string. Okay, now I'm going to import JSON. And the result is going to be the JSON as an object dot loads object result. We have saved it through as an JSON object. To see how to convert the JSON back to string. For that, let's create another variable. JSON is the object name. JSON dot dumps method, and we have saved that result, the JSON file in the result. So let's see how it got converted back to string. So string to JSON, JSON to string. Okay, the JSON dot loads and the passing the object value will create the JSON file. So the result is actually that JSON file. You see, I'll just see the type of the result. The dictionary and type of S2. You see how we have converted that into string. Okay, so now let's see how to convert that back to a data frame as a data frame. You can see how you can work with different data types from an object to JSON, JSON to string, string to data frame. S3 PD dot data frame result siblings, this value, and then columns, methods. What's that in the S3 that we have just created? You can see it will just pick the key value siblings. Okay, what are the values that is associated with this key, this one and this one. So that will get retrieved and we're displaying it. Okay, so this particular section deals with how to work with different data types simultaneously. The same object, but how we can manipulate it as different data type, like JSON, string, and then dictionary, and then how we can convert it to data frame, all those stuff. Now let's read a JSON file itself. Like for example, if you go to your folder, I have uploaded example. There's a JSON file. Okay, it should look like this, like a dictionary. Okay, but it's a JSON file. So let's see how to read the JSON file. Okay, so data 9 PD dot method called read JSON. See, read JSON file. Let's read the file as it is in example.json. Okay. So this is what JSON file that you can see how it looks like. Okay, so let's see a few more functions, like two JSON functions to read as a JSON file. Okay, so print data 9 dot to JSON. Orient records. Okay, there were some typo errors. So to JSON, and when this one, what you see here, the full data, whatever we have created here, full data, that is A for the A1, 0 will be associated with 1, 1, 4, and 2, 7. For the B key, 0, 2, for 1 it is 5, for 2 it is 8. For C it is 0, it is 3, and so it's like multiple reference, multiple indexing, okay? But when you want to hold only on records, then this indexing value, this row-based indexing value will be taken away. Then it will just specify A1, B2, C3 like that. Okay, so a few things that when you need to work with JSON files, so these are the few things that you should be familiar. Next, we are going to see how to do the web scraping. Okay, so in the folder upload, you can see I have uploaded this file, this bank.html file. Okay. Make sure that you have that file. So we're going to do web scraping on that by using that. Okay. So tables pd pandas.read HTML. Since it is a HTML file, we're going to use the read HTML method where we're going to read bank.html. Make sure it is there in the current location so that you don't need to give the full name. Okay, so let's see what is the length of this. Let's first display what is there in the tables. You can see these are the data that we have in the tables. If you open this bank.html file, you're just retrieving this table, this data from the table. Okay. So you see that got retrieved like this. Okay, so this is how you can read HTML. Already we have seen read HTML with tables. So just one more example. So next we are going to see how to read binary data format. So binary data format is like more complex storage solution for when you work with image data. For that and all, you need to have more data space. Okay, so storing file in binary data format will solve that problem, but it will typically provide faster and more flexible access to the data with less memory. So different binary file formats are available like H5, Pickle. Pandas provide a lot of methods. We'll see Pickle method to handle the binary data format, and also we'll see H5 method as well. Okay, so let's create a variable frame pd.read csv. So let's select this ex1.csv file, ex1.csv. Okay, and how to convert that into Pickle. Okay, this object, there's a method called to_pickle. The binary file format, and we're going to name it as frame pickle. Frame pickle. Frame pickle. So that will just create a frame pickle file in your current folder. You can see it has created a frame pickle file. We're not sure what kind of file it is, just it says the file name. Now let's see how we can use that read pickle file, read pickle method, read underscore. Let's give that file frame underscore pickle. Okay, so you can see we have we are able to use the read pickle method to read it. Okay, so as of now, we're not going to go deeper into all these things. Just be familiar with how to use the read and to method. All the read, CSV, read, Excel, read, pickle, everything will help you to read the particular file format, and to underscore the file formatting like to CSV, to Excel, to pickle, all those things will help you to read it into a particular file format. So pandas provide a huge collection of options to work with different file by read and to method. Read will help you to load it, and to will help you to save it. Okay. So now let's see another binary file format called HDF file format, HDF file. So that let's create a new data frame. Dictionary. NP dot random dot and 100 values. Binary file for that. Store pandas dot HDF uppercase 2. Okay, and then we have to give the file a name. My HDF file dot h5 is the file extension h5. Okay. We have saved it in store. Okay, let's create object 1. Data frame. Also, where we are going to pick the first one in the frame. Store. You can see we have created h5 file. So if you refer this, you can see my HDF file h5 that we have created. Just be familiar with the method. We have to use HDF store method to create the HDF file. Let's see what is that in that store of. You can see date 100 functions. We have created some 100 random numbers, 100 rows and 1 column. Okay. And in apply different kind of operations, index related operations. I have just created object 2. Okay, maybe I'll show you how you can do arithmetic operation on this indexing. Okay, method called put method in HTML5 file, where object 2 and format as table format. Normally, we will not use that much real binary file formatting. It's a rare case scenario, but I just want you to get introduced to these methods. Object 2. We're specifying where index value is greater than 10 and index value is less than or equal to 15. Just pick all those values. We're just giving a non instructions. Okay, so we are specifying in this 100 rows, just select the index values from 10 to 15. Okay, so that is how that we have just practiced some of the binary file formats. Okay, pickle and HDF file. How to what are the methods available in pandas to work with these binary file format. Next, we are going to see how to work with APIs. So communication between two applications, between two different platform, when it comes to that communication between two different web apps. Python provides the best possible options because of this library. Let's see how you can work with different APIs. Okay, for that, mostly when you work with the API, you will use the library called request library. So import that library. Okay, let's get a GitHub account, API, github.ec. Okay, let's take that. Let's create a variable. How it respond variable, how it will get method URL. Okay, so we have reached out through this API. I'll show you. Okay, with this data, we have reached out to this API, and by using get method, we have passed out. We have passed this URL tag by using the get method. Okay, now we're going to use that REST object. We're going to convert that into JSON. So whatever value that you see here, we're going to convert it into JSON. Okay, so you can see I've retrieved that user related information here. So other data like issues, all those stuff, maybe we'll see how we can make use of that. So we are creating another variable called issues. Okay, and us dot pick that data, what we have saved here as a JSON file. And then let's pass the columns attribute, but we're just going to select the columns. It has large collection of information, label, state, different collection information. It's kind of a little bit confusing when we look at it as a JSON file. So let's just view that as a table, okay, as a data frame. So you can see when you have to go through this JSON file format, it is kind of a little bit confusing. But when we can use the data frame method to convert this JSON file format to the data frame format, and we are just picking particular columns, okay, to display, we are just picking particular columns. Okay, so this is how we can work with how to, when we work with the APIs, when we get the data into API and convert it to JSON and then convert it into data for the tabular format. Okay, so Pandas has methods for all these things, but when you need to connect with the API, always you have to go for the request library. You have to import this request package to work with the APIs. Okay, so we have just imported a request method and pick an URL, convert that data into JSON, and then convert that data into table. So next we are going to work with, see how Pandas will be helpful to work with database. Okay, so if you're familiar with database concepts already, then it will be kind of easy for you to follow this. Okay, how to interact with databases. Okay, so for this, we are going to use, there are multiple different popular database platforms out there. We are going to use SQLite because you can use the SQLite. SQLite is the easy to use package which just takes little bit less memory space comparing to the other database systems. Okay, so you can, if you're using SQLite, you can simply work it with Jupyter Notebook file itself. It's easy to create databases and manipulate the databases in Jupyter Notebook file itself. Okay, so I'm just creating a database. SQLite is will become an object, right? So a method called connect method. So that will create my database 4.d database. I have just created a database connecting with the databases. Okay, so drop table, if there is already table existed, first make sure that there is nothing, it's new. For that, always the execute command will just take that command which is given as in string. So the command drop table if exists test. There is any table with the same name, just delete the table, drop table. The query. Okay, so create table, if you're familiar with database, this query, what this query will do, it will create a table called test. Already we have, if it is already there, to avoid this, because we are just practicing it, right? In case if you're practicing it more than once, you're just deleting the data if it is available there. Okay, and then we have to give the column name and the database. So data type. A varchar and B is also varchar. And then C, consistent lowercase. C is, so if you don't know the database, please brush up your skills on database. I'm not covering the database concepts in this tutorial. I'm just showing you how you can use pandas to work with database. Okay, so the table that I'm creating is called test, has four columns of A, B, C, D, with varchar for the first two, and then real, and then the last one is integer. Okay, so it's a command. So when you need to work with multiple strings, multiple lines of state strings, then you can use this three. I hope you are familiar with this thing. Okay. So now I'm creating another object, connect object, and then using this SQLite object, SQLite3 dot connect method. Okay. So I'm going to my data to dot SQLite. Execute this command, whatever I have given in this query variable. And then commit, change that. Oh, there is a syntax error. Oh, I forgot to open the parentheses. Created one, and just it will just create a table, and we have to pass the data. Okay, I'm just creating a variable to pass the data for A, B, C, D. All these columns, we are just creating a rows, actual values. So I'm just going to list element, add a list element. Query to variable and insert into values. I hope you're familiar with that command. Insert into the test table with the values. Okay, and then con object, con dot execute is the command that you have to use. And what you need to execute, you have to execute this query to with the data. Okay, so the query and then what is the data that we have to pass that will be refreshed here. So I have just retyped everything again. Okay, so now it works. Seems like there were few errors with the typing. Feel free to copy this content from the PDF and paste it. Now I'm going to create another variable to see what is there in the file. What is there in the table? Okay, select star from test. You know, the select command will help us to read the data from the table. Okay, you can see these are the data just saved in the table. So the next one, we're going to see how we can convert it into data frame. So far, what we have done is just we have used the SQLite library to create a database. Okay, now we're going to see how we can connect the pandas with that. So cursor or description. You can see ABCD values, and it says something about the data that we have created. Maybe let's use convert it into data frame. It's already in 2D format, so why not? We can just convert it into data frame easily, since already it is in the file format, correct file format. Okay. Columns argument. So you can see here we have converted this database into data file format. So just convert data frame, row, column, and then in this cursor, we have saved all those data. So we are just passing it as a for loop, and by specifying cursor dot description and passing it through the rows and columns. Through loop, we are just adding the database, the values in the database into a data frame, converting it into data frame format. Okay. So let's do few more operations so that will be a little bit more confident in connecting the database with the pandas. Okay, so let's connect to database once again by using my data connect command. And if we are going to work on one more table called grades, and if the table already exists there, drop it. Okay, some basic commands, and then we are going to create the table. For that, create a db.execute create table. This will create the table, and we're going to add some values by using insert command. Okay, insert into grade one ID name score. We have added it, and we have to save the change. For that, use commit command to save the method. And then we are going to see the created table. We're going to see the created table. It will be saved and results. But to see the results, maybe let's use for loop. in results, print row okay. Print you can see added this 101 everything, right? So we have given some space, and then it is not needed. If you don't want to add some line, you don't need to do it. Let me run it again. Seems like I have to execute it once again. Okay. I just use the for loop to get into that. Or we can simply use this. This is also here also we have done the same thing. Using for loop only, you can read the data as a data frame as a data. Okay. If you want to select only one data, filtering of how can you do the filtering? You will use that command to the filtering, right? So here we are going to use only this data, Gary data. For that, we are using select start from grades 1 where the name is Gary. Again, we have to use the for loop. Okay, for row in results. Bad condition. Okay, that will just pick one particular row from the table. Okay, so this section, second section is kind of, it seems like it was longer. I will do a short review on things what we have done so far. So in the first section, we have discussed about how to read the CSV file, what are the attributes out there to read the CSV file. The second thing, in the second section, we have discussed about how to read the Excel file, HTML file, and then how to work with real data. Okay, not the data, real data. So normally there are a set of popular data sets are available, like Titanic, that. So we have just selected the Titanic and see what are the popular methods are there to analyze the data. So that we have done, and then we had discussed about how to use input output file stream to read the CSV file, and then we have discussed about date function, how to work with the date in pandas, what are the methods available in date range function to manipulate the date, and then we discussed about JSON, how to convert the JSON to string dictionary and then back to as a data frame. Okay, those kind of stuff that we discussed and practiced. And then API, how to work with the APIs, and then database. In database, we used SQLite and how to implement the database commands. Okay, and then we have seen how to connect this database into the data frame into pandas. Okay, by converting the database into data frame by using for loop, how we are iterating it through that, and reading the values in the table. So those are the stuff that we have discussed in the second section of chapter 6. Thank you. See you in the next video tutorial.